Admiral Zexthul of the Galactic Hegemony had conquered 47 worlds. Each one had followed the same predictable pattern: orbital bombardment, ground invasion, and within 72 standard hours, complete capitulation. The species would kneel, accept their place in the Empire's hierarchy, and begin their new lives as subjects. Earth, the hegemony's intelligence reported, would be no different. A primitive world with fractured governments, endless internal conflicts, and technology, centuries behind the Empire's standard. The conquest fleet arrived expecting another routine subjugation. They were catastrophically wrong. The first sign came when Earth's defenders didn't retreat after losing their orbital platforms. Instead, they regrouped on the planet's surface and kept fighting with a ferocity that puzzled the hegemony commanders. When their advanced weapons were destroyed, humans picked up primitive projectile weapons. When those ran out, they used tools, rocks, and their bare hands. "They're still fighting," Zexthul's tactical officer reported 3 weeks into what should have been a 3-day operation. "Every major population center is still resisting." Zexthul studied the holographic display showing Earth's continents. Red markers indicated active resistance. They covered nearly the entire planet. Impossible. Their governments have fallen. Their military command structure is decimated. "That's just it, Admiral. They're not following their government's orders anymore. Small groups, individuals, entire communities, they're organizing themselves. Each group fights like it's defending its own nest." This was unprecedented. In every other conquest, destroying the central authority had led to immediate surrender. But humans, it seemed, didn't need central authority to resist. They created their own. The situation deteriorated further when the hegemony attempted their standard pacification protocol, threatening civilian populations to force military surrender. On Kepler 442b, this tactic had ended resistance within hours. On Earth, it had the opposite effect. When hegemony forces destroyed New York City as a demonstration, expecting humanity to break, something else broke instead. Whatever restraint humans had been showing. The retaliation was swift and savage. Guerrilla tactics evolved into something the Empire had never encountered. Every human became a potential soldier. Children as young as 10 learned to identify hegemony patrol routes and relay information. Elderly civilians became walking intelligence networks. Scientists abandoned their research to build improvised weapons from household materials. Artists created propaganda that spread faster than the Empire could suppress it. "Admiral," his communications officer interrupted, voice tight with something between confusion and fear. "We're receiving a transmission from the planet's surface. It's from everywhere." The main screen flickered to life, showing not one face but dozens, then hundreds, then thousands as the signal multiplied across Earth's communication networks. Every screen showed a different human, but they all spoke the same words in their various languages, translated in real time by their primitive but ingenious networks. "We are humanity," they said in unison, their voices creating an eerie harmony across the void. "You came here expecting to find a broken species, divided by borders and beliefs. Instead, you gave us something we've never had before, a common enemy." Zexthul leaned forward in his command chair, 8 eyes fixed on the display. "You studied our history," the collective voice continued. "You saw our wars and thought them weakness. You didn't understand they were practice. For thousands of years we've been preparing to fight something exactly like you. Every conflict taught us adaptation. Every defeat taught us resilience. Every small victory taught us hope." The tactical display updated in real time, showing the hegemony's positions across Earth. What had once been scattered resistance pockets were now connecting, forming networks, sharing resources and information with an efficiency that rivaled the Empire's own command structure. "You wanted to see what humans do when pushed to their limit?" The voices carried a note that made Zexthul's carapace shiver. Not fear, but something worse. Anticipation. "You're about to find out." What followed was unlike anything in the Empire's military archives. Humans turned their cities into fortresses and their countryside into death traps. They weaponized their own technology, turning communication satellites into kinetic missiles and power plants into improvised bombs. They hacked hegemony systems not with advanced technology, but with crude viruses written on ancient computing systems the Empire's cybersecurity couldn't even recognize as threats. Most disturbing of all, they learned. Every hegemony tactic was countered within days. Every new weapon was adapted to human use within hours. They reverse-engineered Empire technology not in laboratories, but in basements, garages, and bombed-out buildings, using nothing but determination and an apparently endless capacity for creative violence. 6 months after the invasion began, Admiral Zexthul received his first casualty report that showed more hegemony losses than human ones. By month 8, his supply lines were under constant attack. By month 10, human fighters were using captured hegemony ships against their former owners. The final message came exactly 1 year after the invasion began. This time, it was a single human face on the screen, scarred, tired, but with eyes that held the light of something unbreakable. "This is General Sarah Martinez, representing the Unified Earth Defense Command," she said. "We're sending you a gift, your surviving invasion force. They'll be released in neutral space with enough supplies to reach your nearest base. Consider it a demonstration of mercy, a concept you might want to study." She paused, and when she smiled, Zexthul felt his primary heart skip a beat. "Next time you want to conquer a world, Admiral, make sure you understand what you're conquering. First, you came here to teach us about Empire. Instead, we taught you about defiance." The transmission ended, and within hours, damaged hegemony ships began limping away from Earth's solar system, carrying with them the most valuable intelligence the Empire had ever received. Some species could not be conquered because they refused to accept conquest as possible. In the aftermath, Earth became the first world to successfully repel a hegemony invasion. But more than that, they became something new, a species that had been forged in the fire of the galaxy's greatest empire, and emerged not just unbroken, but stronger. The Empire had tried to break Earth. Instead, they had created something far more dangerous. A united humanity that now knew exactly what they were capable of when pushed to their absolute limit. And across the galaxy, other subjugated worlds began to whisper a new word they had learned from the humans: defiance.